Victor, the first thing that I noticed in our transition into this, besides all the chaos of what's going on here, is just there's there's not a lot of space in this middle panel. It's bigger, but it's filled with more activity. And in this first panel, there's just a lot more
Yeah,
space that he gives. So that's just the first thing I see. And then clearly on this other side, it is very cramped and there's no space. So I know that
yeah,
space is a big thing that you talk about, and
right,
I'm just
right.
noticing that. Um, yeah. So tell us a little bit about this this middle panel. How do you even orient to it? Maybe we started with the mountains on this side. Is there something you want to tie into the mountains on this side as a beginning,
Well,
or
the
what would you say?
mountains on that side, this pink mountain is very much like the yellow mountain, yellow-green mountain on the left
Hmm.
panel. It has the same kind of setup, you
Yeah.
could say, superficially, but it is more made out of different materials. Like it's like pink, and it has all these glass tubes again. These tubes that they use for transformation for the alchemy. And alchemy is the mother of chemistry.
Mm.
So chemistry is taking things apart and putting things in little separate boxes, and then maybe having the luck that when you bring some of the boxes together, something new gets born. And that's basically what's now happening with the GM.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I mean,
you know,
basically, is this basically like a GM mountain? It seems almost like it's a man-made thing rather
it's
than a
man-made.
natural.
These
Yeah.
are I would call these mountains celebrational, the beginning of all the water parks and
Yeah.
the you know
Yeah. It seems
Disneyland areas.
this made me think
It's
of Disneyland or
yeah,
fireworks at a Super Bowl or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a celebrational tendency away from nature with artificial materials. I
Mm.
mean, the water fountain in the panel above Jesus is now blue and dark
Ah,
and
sorry.
looks really like a like something that comes straight out of laboratory.
Oh, and the moon is
Or
upside down here, as the in the last one it was at the top was angled up. I don't know. I
yeah,
mean, that's a small detail, but here's another moon. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
the moon is also the dome from underneath and the
ah,
dome from above, so it's
sure,
like
sure. Yeah.
it's a part of the egg. Now, inside here is the only part where there's some naughty sexuality playing in the dark hole. So they take darkness for hiding.
Ah,
And you can see that uh, in the left side of this ball, you go a little higher up, you see the next tower. These people also go into a dark hole for experiencing something, I don't know. They come out of it. They've been into this
it,
yeah,
it
dark
looks
thing.
like people coming off of like a boat ride at Disney World where
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
went through an artificial experience and it was
It is definitely. That's what I'm feeling.
yeah.
He's pointing to it. He uses all kind of materials, rolled up gold paper, and spikes again, spikes through everything.
Yeah,
It's
lots.
like they're ruining things, and then people are playing around on them. They're climbing over it. They use it as a circus act or something, you know. So it's much more playfulness. And then in
Yeah.
the sky above it, you can see uh, things flying. Birds fly, okay, but then you see a, a merman standing on a fish with wings like an airplane and holding a berry, not a carrot, but a berry in front of the fish, so to be able to drive the fish into any direction he wants. So it's actually the first airplane pilot.
Oh yeah, yeah. So of course airplanes were not around in 1500,
No,
and
no. So it's
but
just
this
these
is essentially the idea of an airplane.
it's yeah, it's the
It's
same thing that his time uh, the painter of his time is Leonardo da Vinci also, and he was busy making flying machines.
Sure.
And so there's this dream, and this is what it is. Men have visions that are looking into the future. What can you do in the future that would be worth going into? So all these things are basically what people think, what people make out of the creation, what they can get out of creation by self-creating. And this is going back to Adam, who sees Jesus and says, I'm jealous. If I have power, if I can, then I can be God. And this is what he's talking about. People are trying to be God and replacing God.
You mentioned earlier, related to that, that Jesus was symbolized as the fish. I'm wondering if there's any symbolism here with this person driving the fish now and making the fish do unnatural things or something like that.
Yes. The merman is the man and the mermaid. If you go lower down, you see several mermen, whole army of mermen, and you see mermaids.
Where is that?
And in the water, if you go further down, there, there's the same guy that's sitting on the fish and dating a mermaid who's holding her tail also, like he held his tail on the fish.
Sure was.
And so they are like playing with each other. So it's like our emotional world is here at play into I wouldn't call it sex, but it's definitely an attraction of sexuality on an emotional level. And so you see this whole painting, if you go back to the whole thing, you will see several fishes. Fish in the sky, fish on the land, fish being carried by these people, where a big fish is eating a small fish and they carried it away. And there's another fish that's being carried around and around. They take the fish out of its element. And this means that the time, there's a man sitting on the fish still swimming, but it's the time where Pisces comes to an end, where the community of the Christ is coming to an end. It's out of its element. It's not really the way it is meant to be. Is what I'm saying. He's warning that transformation is a process that is perfect in nature, but when people get their hands on it, it will be deforming.
Right.
Yes,
I definitely see that as.
And you see the enormous in this curiosity next to this black ball of this egg lying there, with all these people trying to get into this egg, understanding the egg. Yeah.
Is this what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the egg that's trying to be understood. So and then if you go a little lower down, you see these people driving around and driving around a lake, a black hole. No, it's a water hole. This is really a lake. And it's what you call the Virgin well or something, where there's something about the egg underneath it that seems to lie on the head of somebody, but I think it's lying on the ground because there's a shadow underneath it. But that egg is exactly the center of all the lines that cross the horizontal, the vertical, the middle, and everything.
That egg is right in the middle.
It's right in the middle. So that's one of the main things. If you go further down, you come in the corner on the right-hand side of this panel before you come to hell. There is an Adam and Eve scene where they say it's Adam looking at Eve. And there's a brother that could be a twin brother
Ah,
It could be Gemini. They
behind.
say it's Noah, but I don't know. And Adam is pointing at Eve. Eve is sitting in a test tube,
Hmm.
but it's not big enough to hold her, which means that in his mind, he doesn't believe that it will ever work to make the woman in a total object where she can't
Hmm.
speak. He puts something in her mouth, on her mouth, a piece of bread or dough or whatever it is. So she will not be able to speak and to resist Adam, who's doing research. Whereas on the tube next to him, you can see that, yes, you can have a tube that's big enough to hold a bird, and you can make the bird into an object to study.
Hmm.
But they're interested in what makes Eve uh, being able to create life in her body, to recreate life. And on the glass tube, you see also these shapes of the suns, but there could be breasts with a nipple on it.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know why he used that one.
Hmm.
Whereas on the glass tube of the bird, he has only
Oh, I
these
see.
little suns, these little bubbles. But here he has circles with a bubble on it. So it looks a
Interesting.
little bit like Eve's breast that are floating around on it. So how can a woman create milk? How can
Hmm.
she create a child? How is that done? It's the
Interesting.
search, the alchemistic search for life. What
Right.
creates life?
I mean, I can see that being breasts or something as the male tries to, uh, create fake woman.
Yeah.
Just very interesting. Okay,
Well, it's a
so
little bit of
is
a
she holding?
pre. Uh, yeah, she holding an apple, a fruit, and
Oh,
there's
that's a
not an
fruit.
apple
Okay,
there.
I thought it
So
might have been an
there's
egg
no.
again.
Everybody is eating apples. Everybody's eating fruits. I always held
Look at her.
the warning: don't eat the fruits of the tree of good and bad. Don't eat the fruits, which means just do what you do. Be curious. Study nature, but don't study it in order to aim for the fruits,
Oh,
which makes you money.
right.
Yeah,
Everyone. There's fruit everywhere in this painting.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
more
So
fish,
they're all
fruit.
enjoying the fruits. And he actually, in this painting, still makes the fruits bigger, makes the birds bigger, makes the muscle bigger, makes everything bigger than man. So he's actually
Hmm.
thinking that nature is still here more important and gives food to man than man is treating the animals. So the dominion over animals is seen in the circle of people riding around this virgin well.
Hmm.
They go counterclockwise and they use the animals to sit on. They're too lazy themselves to do anything. They're just playing around, they're fooling around. Uh, and these ladies are in the water because when you give birth, you
Hmm.
break the water.
Hmm.
So the water breaks first, then the baby comes out. So there's something very fertile with water, they think. So
Hmm.
good for ladies to stand in the water, uh, you know. So again, the fish are kind of taken out of the water. The ladies are put into the water, and they want to see. Uh, it has no. It goes counterclockwise, so it has no future. It,
Ah,
it stays stuck. In fact, when you
interesting.
are living in Holland and you go counterclockwise around in the bathtub, that's how the water disappears and gets
Ah,
into. So
interesting. This is almost like a flush.
yeah, yeah,
But also, Victor, this scene right here in the middle of this painting, um, it really feels like the engine of this painting. It
Yeah,
feels like
yeah, right.
it's
Good.
winding this
Yeah,
painting
great.
to in that reverse direction.
Yeah,
This is clockwise is also what we call sunwise. It's the sun goes. Maybe that's only a northern hemisphere thing. I'm not sure, but sun always goes clockwise for us, and this is in the opposite direction. So that's also interesting to me.
yeah, yeah.
But visually, as you look at this whole painting, I can really feel that now as the sort of main thing that is turning this painting. It's very very interesting. So
Yeah, the thing what I talk about Judas, and that these are looking like Judas pennies on the tree of is again, why is Judas getting 20 silver coins for betraying Christ, his friend, the ones that he adores, that he loves? He actually betrays him because there must be a jealousy, and that's what I see in this painting, that he must have seen also the jealousy of Judas and waking up and saying, okay, we'll crucify you with feet together and all that. So the whole thing is happening here. And so the money thing for me is very important too,
yeah.
because I think it was originally a bartering method, so you could not be stuck to whatever you have to offer the world from your own making. I think that Van Gogh bartered a lot. He gave a lot of paintings for being able to stay in the house and being able to eat soup. Yeah.
I know you've talked about this the connection between money and the Judas penny on the front side and the coins here. I wonder if you would say anything about that.
Yeah. This is the end of transformation. And what I see happening is that what normally I depicted this Aquarian type. So this is, for me, it's the negative Aquarian type.
Mm.
It's the Prince of Darkness with a pot out of which he's poured into two other pots, which is division, left foot, right foot.
Ah.
And so from pot to pot is what Johannes Vermeer made the Milkmaid. And I used the Milkmaid painting
Oh yeah.
to illustrate the time of Aquarius that's coming. It's a bit silly to talk about astrology, but that's something that I like. So forgive me, folk. But this is
So
the
this is
milkmaid now pouring the Milky Way through her jar and onto all the other pots. And most of the pots are closed. And you have to have an open pot to receive the life energy. So we need openness and not closeness. So to be open to all the possibilities of the life force that flows in everything, in every body, and in every tree, and in every rock, and everything is life force, is the beginning of everything. And if we can keep our eye on the life force and not on what pot you are, you can accept any pot.
You're right.
Because it's the container of life force, and it's created from that. This is the thing you can't depict, but normally the life force creates the pot. The life force creates the container, the human body, the animals, the trees, everybody, every rock, every formation, the earth itself is born out of life force. So it's the unifying consciousness that we're talking about, and we have to be strong enough to enter this period. And here I see on this painting, the pot is now a cooking pot that transforms your vegetables into a soup that you can enjoy, or boil up tea that you can enjoy, whatever you want to do, but now it's coming out in a falcon, a falcon.
Oh, you want to go back to the other painting?
Yeah,
I do want to say the
yeah.
for the watchers. So this is a part of Vermeer's painting of the milkmaid here, and this is Victor's painting of the pouring. I don't know if that was clear to everyone, but also Victor's just. You've also talked about this being like the Milky Way and
Mhm.
the stars and the galaxy. There's a lot going on here. That it's a very rich painting of the Aquarian age. I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to say
So,
that.
yeah, thanks to Vermeer.
Yeah, yeah.
So here, thanks to Hieronymus Bosch, you see the falcon. Some people said, oh, it's another owl. No, it's not an
No,
owl.
it's a
The
falcon.
falcon.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you call that in English, falconry.
Yeah, falconry.
Uh, falconry is using falcons to hunt other birds
Yep.
and to hunt little rabbits and mice and all that for food. So it was basically done in those days by the noblesse. They were falcon hunters. They used falcon. Now
So,
he's
yeah.
eating a person here, and the person is pooping out the birds that he's been eating, thanks to his falcon, and they are not digested. They're still alive, and it goes out with a black fart. It means, and even a little flame. It means that it's an explosion of undigested, never digested food.
Mm.
So it goes through him, and he's sitting on a chair, a poopy chair, and underneath him is the bubble that is comparable to the womb of a woman, and he's not digesting anything. It just goes straight through and falls into this cesspit, this other black hole. This is the negative black hole, you know.
So
And
probably
in that,
probably connected to the
you can
black
see-
hole. It's
Yeah,
connected to the black hole on the first
on
painting
the
that we
sun.
looked at.
Yeah. And it says, okay, now all the things that you haven't digested goes into the money that you didn't spend, the food that you can't digest, and your whole being that is being digested through the Prince of Darkness.
Wow.
So that is my main thing, is that the other thing is like here is the devil next to this woman who is compared to be Eve, but I don't know. But she's having had sex, and she's sitting a little bit like Adam, leaning with her left hand on the earth and her right hand on the right side, whereas Adam was leaning on the earth with his right hand, and his left hand was on his left side. So there's a little switch here. And the devil's legs are visibly seen as dead branches, you know, infertile, no transformation, nothing. So the whole thing is about not transforming. The falcon that eats in here, you can see a little further is the hare that is hunting a man.
Oh, here.
And his hunting dogs are hunting another man.
Am I looking at the right thing, Victor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, here's the hunting dogs. I see. They've got spikes on them, of course.
Yeah.
There's spikes everywhere.
Yeah. So the hand here on this disc.
Oh, yes, the Christ hand from
the Christ hand from the blessing.
Wow.
Now it is having, instead of a blessing, has with the two big fingers, the Saturn and Jupiter finger. It has a how do you call that thing?
A
dice on it, and the hand is pierced just like Jesus' hand was pierced by a nail. So it's basically a repetition of his protest against this crucifying of the good spirit.
Yeah.
And Adam is looking over the edge of the fallen table with his hands full of in front of his head, looking in shame, like to the disaster that is
Uh,
happening there.
yeah, it's utter disaster. I love this holding up a game, and there's a lot of game pieces and stuff
Yeah,
on this side. Um,
yeah.
seeing this
Like
whole thing
listen,
as a
you
game.
can listen and see this painting with so many details, but you can get lost in it very easily. But if you
Oh
go a
yeah.
little higher up, higher up, higher up, higher up, higher up, you come to this music instrument here, this pale wood one. On
Oh,
top of that
this one.
lies is a man carrying the same egg. This is the second whole egg in the whole painting. It's weighing him down. He can't stand anymore.
Oh wow.
It means that the failing of understanding the life force and how it works, it is a disaster
Mm,
trying to find out. And a little higher up, you
mm.
see the self-portrait of what they say is the the boatman having the same egg shape as his trunk,
Oh,
and it's broken open, and there's partying
oh
going
this.
on and drinking and this
Oh my gosh.
superficial life.
Look at that. That is so. There's so much going
Yeah.
on. So wow, this is. Hmm.
And so he's kind of like half smiling, seeing the disaster that happened from opening the egg and trying to find out and what to do with it. Only what you do with it is getting drunk and
Yeah,
partying, but
and, and
you don't use it for the real transformation is only when there's life.
and
Don't
Victor,
take the life out of it.
exactly. What I'm seeing with this egg, this broken egg that's got, weird anthropomorphic legs and trees coming into it,
Yeah, dying
and
trees. Yeah,
it reminds me of how beautiful this egg is in the natural state, in the early state, and how it naturally opens
it opens
it doesn't
upwards. Yeah,
yeah, and it doesn't crack. It opens upwards and almost like a lotus unfolding, and the
yeah.
energy just
Also,
rises up out of it.
those little fruits on the left and the right side of the sun also open up outwards, and
Yep.
things coming out for growth, and they give life energy and life water.
Yeah, and it's very it's the way he's painted it is so natural, and it things are opening organically. The split in them is like this is a natural sort of split,
Yeah,
whereas this egg here is just like cracked and
yeah.
uh,
Held together with
and
branches, pierced again,
and
pierced, pierced, pierced.
yep, and same with this one. It's cracked in an unnatural way, and then people are trying to find their way back into it. And I imagine that this egg is very related to this egg. Oh, I missed it right here. This one. They've climbed
Yeah,
into it and
yeah, yeah.
created
Partying.
infection inside of it, basically. Um, yeah, this painting is so incredible, and as you talk about it, and as you really invite the listener and me to look deeply at it, uh, I can really feel it touching my consciousness, because um, he was clearly coming from a place of depth with all of this. This is not just a lot of forms and like an exercise in let me see how many weird things I can paint, but there was clearly a deep, not one deep message, but many, many deep messages in here. And it's just so amazing to me how um, how fitting this feels now for our time, when it's hard for me to believe that he felt and saw all of this happening in his time, because this feels like uh, what it feels like to go out in the world right now. Everybody is doing their own thing. Everybody is so attracted to the fruits and the genetically modified fruits of life, and I mean that metaphorically. Whether it's whatever human man-made thing exists,
Yeah, yeah,
everyone's everywhere doing their own thing as an individual, and not paying attention to the gift and to the life force that's within us. And this just feels, this scene right here feels like um, the world that we're living in today. So I'm just amazed that he was able to, you know, create something that, I mean, surely he felt it in his time, but I mean, it
Yeah.
just feels like it's gotten even worse.
But I
You know.
also feel, to be honest, is that when he paints animals, he steps back and
Mm,
he really goes back to nature and imitates. So he has the possibility to do that.
yeah, I mean, these
You know, to
birds are
say, okay, this
exquisite.
the kingfisher, there's a, you know, almost all these birds did exist, you know, and he maybe changes them a little bit, but you know, the duck is a duck and the
Yeah.
owl is an owl,
Well,
and
that brings up another point that you had mentioned to me before, that these birds have extremely, um, detailed and beautiful
yeah,
forms, and they're exact. And all these people are, you mentioned they're of the same age. They all look about the same. I mean, they all have slightly different faces, but I mean, look at this collection of faces. They're all essentially the
yeah,
same. That's interesting to
yeah,
me.
and yet they're very different, but they are having the same feeling as if they're ants, you know, or
Mm,
as we say, okay, all Chinese people or all black people look the same, or la la la, but we don't see the details that much, except in our own race.
yep.
We are so overpowered by the differences in form and shape that we can't recognize uh, who is who. And so the funny thing is that I'm seeing this. I really don't want to say that this is what he felt. I
Mm,
can feel that he is sitting in an elevator and he goes through the painting deep inside, deep inside, deep inside, deep inside. And then he comes out again and steps back from his painting and he says, ah, that could be a little different. And then
mm,
he gets an idea and say,
yeah.
okay, let's change
Sure.
God into Jesus because it's the only human form that God has allowed on this planet, you know, like he sends his only son, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So Jesus said basically a very simple thing, like the kingdom of heaven is within. He says that the power of your transformational process is deep within. Go there and live with it and see if you can bring it out. And that is my game,
Mm,
that I really want to be connected with this invisible dark world where the owl is master of its terrain. I want to be a master of my terrain, but I don't want to bring forms up. I want to revitalize my whole being with being there and not only being confused with all these thousands of facets and facts and
mm,
things like that.
yes.
But they do talk if you can put the finger on the right ones, you know. But the most amazing thing as a painter is how he painted it, and especially those far away uh, people in the field and the faraway animals. They are just so amazing. These trees, these landscapes,
Yeah.
you know, there's horses. They're so great, and you can see that there are people, but the transformational process is so great. And where he goes here into a more Dali-like construction that has no real, you know, feeling like
Yeah.
you know, melted watches or something. He can play around too, and he might have been inspiring to some of the surrealistic painters, but
Sure.
he himself was not, I think, feeling like a surrealist. He didn't do it to shock the people. He
Yeah.
wanted to see that the formal world is not the only world. You know,
Mm,
that the world that we know is not
yeah.
the only world. There's more to it.
I mean, that's kind of the big takeaway for me on this, is that this middle panel is I've been talking about it kind of negatively, but it's also incredible. Like life is so abundant, and people are, there's all of these fruits, and it's given to us that we can have all of these experiences. But it is all about external experience here. This
Yeah,
entire panel is
yeah.
about looking at external things as objects and creating more objects and
Object is the right word.
yeah,
Object, object, object.
and it feels the glut of people, how many there are. I mean, it to me it feels like, I mean, it's one big party, which is
Yeah,
seems to be what people want of the world these days, but it also feels like a big addiction. It's like they can't
yeah,
escape their own, something in their own nature has made them do this sort of thing. It's not,
yeah,
it wasn't a choice each one of these little people made. There's something that, and maybe it's this wheel that's turning here. But yeah, it just feels like a big, um, they're compelled to do it. It's a compulsion
yeah.
that yeah, I don't know. That just felt like I wanted to say
Well,
that.
it's a little bit of a kick against, it's about the curiosity. That's one thing, but to make money out of curiosity is the bad thing. To put it in action because of the fruits that it delivers, and not because of your pure curiosity
Mm,
and and
yes.
the misuse that we have, and I would say that this world these days is all about facts, and they have to be proven to be
Mm,
true.
yeah.
And yet, all the interesting parts of the deep conscious, deep subconscious levels, all the myth and all these ideas that why not let Christ walk over water? Who cares? you know?
Yeah, well, yes, and I certainly think that there's a message here about, and maybe this is my interpretation, but that um, our obsession with science, and with sorry, I'm moving around. I'm probably making people sick by moving all of this around, but our obsession um, with science as and we didn't even mention there's tubes. Well, I guess you did mention these tubes, but there's tubes everywhere in here. I mean, these tubes
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
and our obsession with science is um, it creates all of this incredible abundance, but it's not sustainable, and it's not natural, and it pulls us deeply out of balance. So there's something wrong with
yeah.
it.
Well, the main thing that I have difficulty with is that what I told about the fishes, take a fish out of the water, and then out of curiosity, you're going to pull it apart,
Hmm.
you know, add other things to it and see how it behaves.
I mean, that here,
And
this
that's the
this looks like it.
curiosity
Right,
of, huh?
this looks like what you're talking about right here. Some creature that they pulled apart. They're
Yeah,
literally getting inside of it and trying to do something with it.
right. Yeah. And it's a really, the thing is that the curiosity is okay because it enriches you. And to have God as an invisible power above you is okay. And I think that Hieronymus Bosch knew that. And that's why he didn't want to have God in the Garden of Eden, but just Jesus as a natural being that walked the earth, according to the Bible. But, I think that was for him very important. And then to see that everybody mocked him and everybody disliked him and everybody was jealous of him.
Hmm.
Church was jealous of him, like the church has been jealous for many times about what saints could do, how popular they were. And they banned the saints until
Hmm.
they died and then declared them saints finally.
Yeah.
But, a lot of stuff that goes on in jealousy in mankind that doesn't want to admit that they are jealous. They want to just hide it and change it into lies. And so it's very difficult to really follow anything right now. And the biggest thing is the addiction to lies, the addiction to facts, the addiction to money, the addiction to power. There's addictions are very, very, very sad. Yes. You know, what could we do to stay quiet and hidden? I mean, that's why we like to live here quietly and secretly in a hidden valley. I mean, it's really nice. It's surrounded by nature. We're surrounded by cats, and we hardly have enough money because of the COVID situation to feed the cats, but we do it still, and they're grateful for it, I think, because a cat loves to eat.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lesson there in this painting that I see a lot of people are explaining this way and that way, and they should, because you should follow your own instinct and your own feelings. And there's so many things that are so great and so funny that you can make fun out of this painting. But the seriousness behind this painting is strong, very strong.
Yeah. Oh, it's very strong. And the word is coming to me. You're talking about Adam feeling jealousy, or humankind feeling some sort of jealousy. And the word for me I'm hearing is like resentment. And there's almost a resentment in either being born or not understanding the creation, or, just having the suffering itself. And by not touching it, and by not dropping into the natural, the naturalness of suffering and of life, we create to avoid it. We create all of this madness to avoid the simple reality of life being, it does its own thing, and we are just in it. And all of the shit that we do in the world, it seems like all of the creating things that don't really matter, is all about just avoiding that simple fact. And that's what I see as resentment. That's what I see as the jealousy. It's fear, deep in our system. And
there's also the levels. That's why I talk about Tantra yoga. It is the yoga that is about the deeper levels of experience. And if you don't want to go deeper, you want to have Jesus out of the way. You want to have God out of the way. You don't have a relationship and see the goddess in your wife, or the wife doesn't see the God in you, because you can't see it that way. But it's the only step towards unification is to get a little higher up, to see, to get into the, I call it really tantric transformation. It is very impossible. And I think that impossible for a lot of people to say that way, that just sex is not enough,
Yeah, of course.
It leads to nothing. It's flat, it's two-dimensional. You get in, you get out, and you light up a cigarette or something, or eat an orange, or, you're back again in your own stupid world. But if you go a little further and a little deeper and hold back and see that if you can really unite and accept each other the way you are, the way you think they are, and then be surprised at how different they are by really looking deeper. And then if you look more deep, you can see that, no, you're actually one with them. you're similar.
Well, I think that's it, man. I think I honestly I feel that that's in this painting that there is a naturalness to seeing things as they are, and when we impose or control, in whether it's a relationship with someone you're in, or whether it's the land, or whether it's alchemy, we are losing access to that unitive experience that is
Yeah,
beneath all of us. And transformation, whether it's through sex or through just relationship, is all about well, at least for me, is all about finding union, and then also find union, not in a spiritual woo woo sense, but in a participation in the world. And you know it's easy and it's really clear to be natural and to be quiet. All of this stuff out here, it feels like the opposite of what I've never visited you to in Eftelu, but I imagine that this is quite the opposite of what your experience is there, and that's what I'm looking for in my life too. I don't want a lot of fireworks and branding and things like that. I want whatever's going on here, and even here, symbolic stuff in the landscape, even here. But this stuff is just it stresses me out, to be honest, just to look at it. I can feel the I can just feel the unnaturalness, and as I get older, I look for things that are more and more natural, which is why I'm
yeah,
very very attracted to the yoga that you and Angela teach, which is, it's about teaching me my own yoga and finding my own natural self within the layers of all of this stuff we've put on top. So I'm so appreciative of that, and this feels like a good place to begin wrapping up our conversation about this painting.
right, right.
Is there anything else that you want to say? Anything to leave us with? We've said a
I
lot.
think I think we said so much that people might be dizzy listening to it and seeing it all, but as dizzy as wandering around in this painting. But I just want to say to people, whatever I said, let it be said and let it go.
Yeah.
And then see what you feel and what you see and what you see. Because it's so important to have it your way. You know, I think everybody should be Frank Sinatra.
Uh, well,
Okay.
that makes me. Let's go back just to a little palate cleanser. What I was saying earlier about the net is that you put your net out at any time into a painting, into something that somebody's saying, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And when you bring it back to yourself, bring back only the things that you need for now. You can dip the net back in again and bring it back in. The
Yeah.
why a net works is that it has all these holes in it. It has more holes than it does string. So, let the water go through,
Well,
and
I think it's great because the net, why I said I'm the net and not the fisher, is because the net has to be strong, but it has to be very loose and open and supple at the same time. And you know, if the pores are not open, then you can't catch anything. And there should be a net for every different fish. Small fishes could go through big loops, and
yep,
if you want to have only big fish, then you have to have then you can use bigger holes. But you have to really know what you have to be flexible to change your net. You
sure,
know,
yeah, absolutely,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
That's the transformation of us as human beings. We have to have the flexible mind too, and the flexible body too. So it is
yeah,
about flexibility in life.
yep. Wonderful. Well, Victor, thank you. This has been just a lot of fun for me. I hope people really enjoy this conversation. And what's great, I've thought of this a couple times during this call, is that um, I feel like I've formed a relationship with this painting that I never would have had probably, and I'll get to explore this painting and think of you, and think of your interpretation of it, and then make some of my own interpretations as life goes on. I mean, it's one of these paintings that I imagine I will look at for years and years and years. So thank you for the introduction to it. It's really really a
Well,
treat.
you're very welcome, my dear Blake. I think I enjoy speaking with you, and I really liked listening to you too, because your openness is the openness that I would like to have for my net too.
Well, I have an Angela and Victor sized net for your type of fish.
Okay.